Shalom, my friends. Purim is ended, and in a few weeks we will reach Pesach, Passover, also known as Zaman Cherutenu, the season of our freedom. Jews have always yearned for liberty. This year, our Zaman Cherutenu takes on new meaning, as so many of us yearn to be free of our isolation. We hope that soon medical advances will allow us to be together again with our loved ones and our beloved community. We will move from our Mitzrayim, the Hebrew word for Egypt, which literally can be translated as the narrow places. As King David says in Psalm 118, I call out from the narrow places. Answer me, please, with expansion. How do we pass over from the narrow to the wide places of the heart? Our Jewish tradition provides us with a ritual to accomplish this shift. Under the full moon of early spring, with our loved ones, our friends, and also with the strangers in our midst, we share a timeless story. The Jewish mystics remind us that behold dor vador, in every generation it is as if we too were slaves in Egypt, and it's an invitation to tell the story of our lives, and through the telling to gain our own freedom. Retelling our story in the context of the biblical story of the liberation of the Jewish people allows us to reclaim the parts of ourselves that have been lost or enslaved. In the imagery of one mystic, all year God walks behind us and collects the pieces of our lives that we have left behind. This year, we are called to reflect on the pieces of ourselves we have left behind, locked away behind closed doors, and how we might reclaim them. This is not as easy as simply reading the words of the Passover Haggadah. We have to dig deep to hear our true story and acknowledge that our stories are not always pretty, and that is okay. For when we sanitize our life stories, we risk turning beautiful lives, imperfect and flawed though they may be, into failures. Wishing to avoid the glare of our lives and the blinding light of truth, we tend to edit, to forget, to push whole parts of ourselves into shadow, into the darkness. But Pesach is the time when we can free ourselves from our desire to edit out or falsify our personal stories. At the opening of our Pesach Seder, a matzah is broken in half, as if the crunch of the breaking cracker were a starting gun, and we begin a race to tell the story before the coming of the dawn. We relive coming through darkness. We know this in our Haggadah as the story of the watch night of the eternal. And when this darkness ends, we begin our journey to a new place, a place we have not yet known. During the night, we will search for what has been broken, the afikomen. We must find this broken part which has been hidden from us before we can finish our ritual. This is what we must find, the part of our story that we might prefer not to look at, the part we don't want anyone to see, especially ourselves. As we descend into our evening narrative, as we hear the stories of oppression and emancipation, we send the children off to find that which has been broken and hidden. Those children that we send are part of ourselves, returning to that moment when the world seemed so broken that we began to hide, that moment when our wholeness was shattered and the unseemly was hidden away. The children go, searching for that moment in the hidden parts of our homes, the homes we've created for ourselves and our families, and when they find it, they return it to the adult. This is the child in each of us, bringing our broken piece back to the adult in us. And perhaps most importantly, when that happens, the child who finds that which has been hidden gets a prize. Our story of liberation is not only personal, it's also communal. This year we know as well as anyone has ever known how winter isolation leads to discontent and the formation of a kotzer ruach, an impatient spirit, the same spirit which plagued the Israelites on their journey in the wilderness. It is a time of short days and much darkness. Like our ancestors, we truly know what it is to hunker down in our homes and wait until the angel of death has passed over and hopefully has spared us and our loved ones. Pesach is a powerful metaphor for what we have learned in this most unusual year. The Seder, more than ever, has the power to bring all of us together in a shared experience, even when we're not in one location. It serves to remind us that liberation and real freedom happen when we act as one community despite the challenges of our physical separation. This year, let us all reclaim our story. Let us prepare to move from where we must be now to where we can be in the future, and let's go to the promised land. I wish you all a Zissen Pesach.